Hey guys, today I have an update for my Double Herald and Invoker Monk build that I'm using to farm breaches. It's got even stronger. The clear is still disgustingly good, it's still comfy, and the clear is still so good that sometimes it lags my PC by exploding way too many mobs at the same time. First world problems, I know. However, the build got even stronger defensively as I revised the aura setup and I got a few upgrades to improve my defenses and make the build almost unkillable in tier 15 plus 4 breaches, as well as putting some rarity on. But don't worry. It's still reasonably affordable. That is, I believe that an average player that plays the game a fair amount would not have issues reaching this build or even getting gear like I have on my main character in no time. I'm running a modest 150% increased item rarity for a few reasons, one being that I wanted it to be reasonably affordable by people following my guide. Second, I'm not really interested in giving up the unique ring and getting an expensive rarity setup, especially when you take into consideration the diminishing returns you get from it, as well as the possible incoming nerf. According to someone's test, there is strong diminishing returns on rarity past 100, so there doesn't seem to be a big need to revamp the whole build to get a ton of rarity on it anyway. Overall, the build is remaining relatively cheap, with the most expensive gear piece being my 5 div chest and a 5 to 10 div weapon. Keep in mind, my character does have some pretty good gear, so if you're league starting with no currency, perhaps look at a different build guide, more league start capable builds. However, I think this build can come online with very little investment and you can have very fun time and high-end breaches in no time. So if you're looking for possibly one of the best mapping Monk builds at the moment, be my guest. The only downside of this build is that it's not very good at bossing, specifically pinnacle bossing. If you're doing Zash to Obito or other pinnacles, I don't think this is a really good build for that purpose. You can adjust it, but if you're interested in that and mapping, you should probably look at a different, better suited all-rounder. Because this build excels at doing juiced breaches and other mapping activities, but it's not really that great at bossing. I also want to thank everyone for 1,000 subs. I really appreciate the support and I appreciate you guys. It means a lot to me. It's been a great Christmas and New Year's present to receive. So yeah, thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. Let's review the passive tree. I'm not gonna go for a yap too long. I mean, it looks pretty similar to how it looked last time. There were some jewel updates. Subterfuge Mask is allocated now by the Amulet Anoint. I'm also grabbing this node. I mean, it's quite nice. I guess I could have grabbed this node as well because it's literally the same thing. But yeah, basically grabbing defensive nodes. The reason I'm grabbing more defensive nodes is because I'm already one-shotting a screen. So like, you know, prioritization is to basically get as much energy shield and evasion as possible. Yeah, I mean, I still have pretty standard pathing like this. Once again, pretty standard pathing. Some jewels might have changed, so I'm trying to get evasion rating on every single jewel I have to hit that 90% number. That number, you need 24k evasion, so yeah. Note this is with 4 stacks of Wind Dancer. Without it, I think it's like 85 or something like that. So it's a bit lower. Yeah, that's how the jewels look. So I'm trying to get the crit hit chance for attacks. I'm trying to get evasion rating on them. The jewels were not too expensive. I've got every single jewel for 1 div. And I think I got 1 jewel for 2 div. So like, it's not too expensive. But you can do it even cheaper. You can just get evasion rating, crit hit chance, and something else. That's gonna peak at 1 div, but you can also get it for exalts. Then you can try to exalt it yourself as well and try to hit that lucky 4th mod. You know, basically, yeah, if you're doing it on a budget, you can save. Still no resonance, I'm not doing power charges, and yeah, that's how it looks. The tree as well is in the guide in Mobalytics to make it easier to copy, and this is where I'm updating it daily. So if there's any changes, I'm gonna make it there before making a video, even if I make a video about it. I want to go over the skill setup I have. I'm gonna hover over all the support gems, but also in the guide in Mobalytics, that's the current setup is gonna be there. Also some notes are gonna be there, so it's easier to copy if you just go to the Mobalytics link in the description video and take the gems and supports from there. But yeah, I'm still gonna hover over them, but might not explain too much about every single one. So the main skill, we got Stormwave, Upheaval, Inspiration, Martial, Tempo, Heft, and Ambush. If you don't have a 6 link, maintain Ambush, but probably take Heft out. If you don't have many issues, you can also substitute Inspiration for something else, and that's completely fine. Now, Tempest Flurry, I have Crescendo, Close Combat, Practice Combat, Rage, Electrocute. I don't use Tempest Flurry that much. you can also substitute the electrocute for something else, something that does more damage, because well, because we're not generating power charges even on bossing, this is completely fine to substitute. I kind of like it because it stuns the boss every so often. I think it's very strong, so I'm keeping it. If you don't have a 6 link, you can just try out, especially practice combo, I don't think is that important. So if you have a 5 link, take that out. Tempest Belt, I have Heavy Swing, Overabundance, Leverage, and Concentrate Effect. Link, I have Ingenuity. Ghost Dance, Fast Forward, Clarity. On Grim Feast, I have Cannibalism, and here I have Pin, Blind, and Lockdown. Now, Herald of Ice, I have Cold Infusion, Magnified Effect, and Cold Mastery, and Herald of Thunder, I have Elemental Focus, Primal Armament, and Longshot. You can play around. There's a support gem limit of 1, so unfortunately you can't do like a perfect setup on every single one. You kind of have to like slot some things out. I'm not saying this is like the perfect setup, but I think the setup is good, and it works quite well for me. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the changes I've made. I've slotted Outcast on Shock in favor of this aura setup, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it. So custom Shock, I find it a bit lackluster. It helps on bossing, but most of the time it doesn't really help. Most of the time I'm doing breaches and the bosses are not even present in every single map. Unless you're doing pinnacles, this is not that important. You're gonna kill the boss anyways, even if it's a plus 4 tier 15 boss. I never find myself struggling with them, so I don't really find custom Shock that necessary. However, I'm now running Ghost Dance, and I think this aura is very, very good. How does it work? You gain Ghost Shrouds, up to 5, and then there is a duration between gaining them, but practically you're running on full stacks quite often. When you get hit, you consume a Ghost Shroud to recover energy shield equal to 5% of your evasion. 5% of this number equals to 1000 something. 1000 energy shield is quite large recovery, and there's a lot of Ghost Shrouds. Now, this number is going to be a bit lower, but we're basically going to recover at least 500 energy shield every time we get hit. This effectively provides a buffer of 2,500 energy shield, and then you regain it quite quick as well. I really like Ghost Dance. I think it's goated, personally. Yeah, I'm still running Grim Feast. This is a no-brainer. This is one of the strongest defensive auras you can run. Run the highest level you can. Don't forget to quality it as well. This is very important. I'm probably not running the highest level I can. I'll fix that after the video. Wind Dancer is another very strong aura. Don't forget to quality this one. Basically provides you with a lot of extra evasion, and then it also pins and lockdowns the enemies. One thing about this, this is marked as X on the Wind Dancer, but I think it's a bug, because in my testing it does work. My guess is because Wind Dancer has 2 separate things. One's the buff and one's Gale Force. I guess the X is for the buff because it doesn't really do any damage, but the Gale Force does. I guess there's some bug going on here. But anyways, I find that this works. I had someone ask me about this, and yeah, I find it good. Herald of Ice, Herald of Thunder, still the same setup. I'm not gonna go into detail and explain it. I'm probably gonna put some extra support on it as well and try to suck at something else. But yeah, basically this Trinity I find really good defensively. Another thing is, if you really wanted to make it even stronger defensively, instead of Blink, you could run Enfeeble or Temporal Chains on the Blasphemy aura. This is another, I think, very good option. I might consider it. And Blink provides you with a lot of mobility though, so I don't want to substitute it, but that's just a possibility that you could play around. Blink does have downsides, especially when you're doing bossing. It can be a bit annoying because if it's on cooldown, you can't dodge roll or anything, you just have to wait. But it's very strong, so yeah, I'm keeping it. I want to talk about gear, and first of all, I want to say the priorities have been basically getting rarity on my gear and improving defenses as well. How do you see rarities? You click on Stormwave and your skills tab, and then you scroll on the bottom, you can see a rarity. It's only 150% only. The thing is that 3 things. First, there's diminishing returns in PoE 1 of Magic Find. There is very likely diminishing returns in PoE 2. We don't know that for certain. I don't think someone's done like definitive tests, but anyways, I don't want to get too much rarity because of that. Secondly, the nerfs are probably coming. Thirdly, it's probably gonna get a bit more expensive and require me to substitute my beloved unique ring that I find very comfy. I love this. It's cheap, it's very nice, it's comfy. So with this in mind, I've kind of settled for this amount of rarity. But I could get more by swapping this ring out, this ring for more rarity, and then getting Ingenuity belt that increase effects of rings, and just like overall get more rarity on my gear. Anyways, I'm not doing that. So, I've swapped some gear out since the last update. The gloves are now, these gloves I got for 5x, so I used to have Hand of Wisdom in action, that's around like 6 divs. Now this is 5x, so it's a downgrade in terms of price, more affordable. Because this combination of mods, rarity, attack speed, and dexterity is actually quite cheap, so I just got that. My weapon is still the same, I think it's quite good, I like it. This weapon was not particularly expensive, but it might be a bit more expensive now. I think this is about like 5 to 10 divs. If you're getting a weapon, the important thing to get is a critical hit chance around this, because you want to get the critical hit chance on your Storm Wave as close to 50% as possible, because then with Ambush, that gives you 100% more, you're gonna get close to 100, and that's very nice. That's very important for this build to function. Secondly, I've got this helmet, once again, rarity and res. I've got this armor. So this armor is I got for 5 divs. It's not crazy expensive, but it has a very high energy and evasion, energy shield and evasion rating roll. This basically gives me a lot of spirit. It gives me a lot of spirit, it gives me a lot of evasion, a lot of energy shield, and it has resistances as well. It wasn't particularly expensive because some rolls like life are a bit lower, but yeah, that's like one of the main upgrades. The amulet, I allocate Subterfuge Mask. This is, I think, a great defensive anoint, and I recommend it, but it costs around 2 divs. If you can't anoint this one, just anoint Tainted Strike, Sharpened Claw, or Storm Charged. There's a lot of good offensive options on the tree. Defensively, I can't really advise. I like this anoint. It's not too expensive. Once you find a good enough amulet, you can put it on. This ring, rarity, resists, and yeah. So I'm quickly gonna go over my gear. I want to also quickly talk about bases for gear, because I get asked a lot. Should you get evasion rating base? Should you get energy shield? Should you get a combination of the two? So there's some nodes on the tree. For example, this node scales very well evasion rating on equipped body armor. This node does the same. This node scales with energy shield and equipped helmet. Ideally, these scale the best if you have pure, in this case, energy shield and equipped helmet, in this case, pure evasion on equipped body armor. In reality, I found that hybrid bases, especially unless you're willing to pay a lot of money, work best for me, so that's what I got. You can try experiment and see what works for you. Personally, I'm just using hybrid bases and it worked great for me. So I'm trying to not like overthink it. I'm also not trying to min-max 100% my build. I'm just trying to get something that works well on a reasonable budget. So that's why I'm using hybrid bases mainly. Another thing is that a very good hybrid base is good. Perhaps you need resists. A very good hybrid base with resists is going to be better for you than a pure evasion base with no resist, for example. Some things like this have to be taken into consideration. So don't be too rigid with this. Just try to look at all the options and see what works best for you and your build and your budget. By the way, I want to point out that my res is uncapped. Don't do this. Cap your res. I'm feeling fine of res, but that's basically my priority for gear. Unfortunately, in PoE 2, it's slightly more fussy to swap the res out because we don't have horticrafting that allows to easily like convert coal to fire and vice versa on gear. So capping res is slightly more painful, but that's the priority. Keep this in mind though. This is not intentional and this is objectively worse than having 75 res, worse by like 15% more damage that I take. But yeah, still works for me though, so that's a good thing. I want to talk about this. This costs 5 divs, and what if you cannot afford it? You're not gonna have enough spirit. If you don't get enough spirit, what to do? First of all, this is 5 divs. One option you have is basically get just a slightly worse chest. You can also get a chest without res, and you can get res elsewhere and don't get as much rarity of items found. I think this is a perfectly fine thing to do when you're starting out. Secondly, what to do if you just have less spirit? A lot of these supports I have are not that big of a deal. Clarity is quite good, but for example, Cannibalism, 15 spirit, I mean, it's okay. It's not like great. it's not bad. I like this, but you don't have to run this support gem at all. It's just like a nice thing that's slotted in. If you really wanted, you could also forgo clarity. This is gonna feel fine without it. So that's gonna save you 25 spirit. Another option you have is if you really don't have spirit, you could also just not run Ghost Dance altogether. Run Brim Feast, Wind Dancer, and Blink. You can also run Ghost Dance, but don't run Blink. That's perfectly fine as well. Just starting out. The most important is to run Heralds, Wind Dancer, and Grim Feast. I really recommend these 4. These 2 you can kind of play around, but I recommend getting enough spirit to run them all. Anyways, this is a comfy setup, and all of these defensive layers scale with each other, and so that makes your character basically unkillable. That's an exaggeration, but that's how it feels quite often for me. Yeah, basically try to get enough spirit, but if you don't, I've given you some options. I want to quickly make a section about the Atlas tree, because I don't want to spam the subscription feed with 10 videos when I can just make one comprehensive setup to just give people an update on what I'm doing. I'm mainly using breaches to farm, and I'm using this Atlas as well. I'm not going to go too much into detail, but I think this is probably one of the more optimized atlases that you can get. I don't think this node is very good because it has downsides because of the interactions with other biomes, and what increased chance to drop something means basically it reduces the chance to drop, for example, basic currency in grass biomes. I don't think you want this all the time. Some people substitute it, some people leave it. I just leave it altogether out of my atlas. I'm not getting this because I have a full stash tab full of tablets, and I have some more. So basically I just have a lot of tablets. I'm not running that. For breach, I have monster density, more monster density, and open and close faster. And basically grasping hands as well. 50% more clasped hands. I find that's a lot of clasped hands. That means a lot of splinters. I'm not doing Zest, so whenever I get breach stones, I just sell them in the currency exchange. I have full boss setup, and that's how it looks like. And I have 2 arbiter points. I'm not doing the arbiter, I'm not doing Zest, I'm just breaching, mapping. That's what I like, that's what I'm making a build for. And yeah, basically that's the situation. How exactly I'm farming breaches is, well, I get breach because of tablets, I get these maps. I'm probably gonna make a separate video on breach farming, but I'm instilling them with paranoia to increase the number of rare monsters. I think it's quite nice, but you can use guilt as well. That increase the pack size, and that's quite nice. And then basically try to get like some towers. Like in this case I have like 5 towers, 6 towers, 7 towers in one area. But if it's like 4 or 3, it's completely fine. I want to talk a little bit about the budget, because I don't want people with no currency to get baited into this build. Now, this is not something expensive. If I were to be honest with the price check, I would say that probably it costs between 15 and 30 divs. You can get a very, very similar character going. Very similar stats and similar gear. However, you can probably get one working on something like a 5 div budget, but if you completely don't have any currency, I can't really say how well this is gonna work if you literally have no currency whatsoever. I haven't tried it on completely cheap gear, so I can't make a statement about it. Keep this in mind, please. If you do have kind of a strong character, maybe you have like a divine in each slot, then you'll be completely fine with this build, I think. But if you literally are starting out, I don't think this is the build that maybe is for you. Maybe try something else that's proven, tried and proven to work on a lower budget and works perfectly as a league starter. This is more of an update to my already existing build that already had some expensive items. I've taken some expensive items out, but I've also got some new ones. And yeah, basically it's not like dirt cheap. Keep this in mind when you're looking at this guide. And if you're contemplating leveling a new character for this, have some currency so you can actually pull it off. Okay, I want to have another section. Should you do this, and will this get nerfed? I think it 100% is going to get nerfed. There's a lot of things that feel too strong. The screen clearing explosions are stronger than a lot of endgame builds in PoE 1, like min-maxed ones. They get completely absurd of clearing the whole screen then going off screen, so that's definitely gonna get nerfed. Parts of this build that are gonna get nerfed probably is this ring. I think it's too strong. Herald Device, I think it chains way too far, so I would expect there to be some limit on how far it can chain, so that it doesn't like start chaining 1 meter away from you and then chains like to a kilometer away off screen and then to a separate into an adjacent map, because that's how it feels. It feels way too strong. As well as the rarity is gonna get nerfed as well, is my prediction. I'm not stacking too much rarity and I'm not converting this build to an MF stacker, so that's gonna be completely fine. The adjustments are gonna be small and then we'll have to easily adjust. As for the Herald Device and this ring interaction, I would say it's very difficult to say how exactly, what kind of adjustments will be needed, how it will work without knowing what they'll actually do to it. With this in mind, I would say if you do have a monk character that you've just leveled perhaps and you're looking for a build, you can consider doing something like this, and you can enjoy Herald Device and this ring. You can enjoy the combination of the two while it lasts, and I think it's gonna last for like a week at least. Otherwise, I don't recommend leveling a complete new character right now in this moment for this build, but as I said, you can swap an existing one. It's actually, you might find that it's a surprisingly small amount of changes that you'll need to do, because practically you just need a monk, you just need some decent gear in it, and then you can just get some different skills, support gems, you get this ring, and then you're good to go. So TLDR, enjoy it while it lasts. We'll see the adjustments that I'll need to make this still work after the nerf. For now, I'm not too worried, I'm just enjoying the mapping. Yeah, I want to give my thoughts on CI as well. CI is a very common thing in the current meta. And I think in the current state of PoE2, it's definitely stronger than not. The upsides definitely outweigh the downsides of it. However, with nerfs in mind and the fact that it can be a bit expensive, and the fact that my build, honestly for me right now, it feels comfy. And you know, if it ain't broke, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm trying to introduce improvements, but also if it works great defensively, I'm not looking to completely change the whole build. And introduce CI, start stacking ES on it, change all piece of gear, etc. So all in all, I think it's good. Maybe I'll try it in the future, but this build for now, it's probably gonna stay as is, just a hybrid invasion ES with some life, some energy shield. Works great for me. I'm not in a rush to change that, but you can consider it. There's a lot of other builds that use CI. Look at them, look at the budget, see if that works for you. If that interests you, try it out. CI is a very interesting keystone, both in PoE1 and PoE2. I recommend trying it out in a build event. You might be surprised how strong that feels. It's been a bit of a long video, I know, but I'm trying to make them comprehensive. I'm trying to not split one video into multiples if there is no need for that. Just make one long one so people can come kind of see what my thoughts are, what different things are. Trying to answer as many questions as possible. So yeah, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the support, and once again, thanks for 1,000 subs. Really appreciate it, and it feels great. It's been a great Christmas present. As always, if you liked the video, please like, subscribe. If you have any thoughts, comment them down below. I try to get to all the questions that I get asked, and I try to also update my build guide correspondingly if I see that something was missing, something was unanswered. So I really appreciate if something is unclear, just ask, you know. If something I said was wrong, you can also comment on that. I appreciate the feedback. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you're having a good time. It's almost New Year's here, so yeah, I'm gonna be celebrating today. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you later.